What's up, guys? Paulie malignaggi for Paulie TV. The undisputed lightweight title fight is a go. We've had the press conference between Lomachenko and Devin Haney, or Devin Haney and Lomachenko. Saying he's a champion, we got to name him first. But nonetheless, it's officially a go. We had the press conference, and both guys seem confident, and a lot of curiosity about this fight. I know I've made my statements in the past. I know a lot of fans have had their opinions of it. I'll be honest with you. I think it's the lightweight fight that I'm looking forward to more. I mean, I know Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia are both popular guys, and they're fighting each other. But honestly, Haney and Lomachenko for the undisputed lightweight title. I mean, this is really the fight that, the real boxing fans, I think, are looking forward to more. You have the undisputed lightweight champion currently right now against the former lightweight champion, who was also a unified champion himself. Lomachenko had 3 of the 4 titles. So, these two guys going at it, I think is the premier fight to be made in the lightweight division. And it's something to look forward to. And both guys look primed and ready at the press conference. Both guys look confident. I've said my breakdown of the fight in the past, and I'll give it again. I think Haney, very athletic fighter, has the size advantage. I think Lomachenko has been so good in his career that he can only have competitive fights if he fights at a weight that's outside of his natural weight. I mean, I don't think Lomachenko is above a natural 130-pounder, and you can tell in his fights in the lightweight division, he's the smaller guy, by a large margin, you know what I mean? And he's constantly fighting the bigger guys, and he still had plenty of success in the lightweight division, but you can tell he's clearly a smaller guy. But of course, he's been so good that this is the only way he's able to be in competitive fights. And of course, even in fights where he's going to lose. I know people are going to say, the Orlando Salido fight, but Orlando Salido showed up overweight. The fight was controversial, and never gave a rematch. But of course, yes, that was also Lomachenko's second pro fight. So he fought for a world title in his second pro fight. But nonetheless, I think the physical size disadvantage has played a big part in both of Lomachenko's losses. Now, Lopez was a very good fighter as well as was Salido, and their resumes speak that. But nonetheless, I also think that a big part of the reason Lomachenko lost those fights is also he was at a size disadvantage. So he's puts himself in a position where he's so skilled that he's got to put himself at a size disadvantage just to be in competitive fights. Otherwise, he's so much better than everybody else. And let's face it, both of those losses were very competitive fights. Haney is a guy who's ascending. He's at an age where I think he's getting better and better. I still think he's getting better and better. I still think his resume is rather weak. I got to be honest. I mean, he hadn't really fought anybody prior to the Kambosos title fights. He ended up getting the title shot because Lomachenko was, as luck would have it, Lomachenko had wound up where his country was at war, and he wound up backing out of a guaranteed title fight with George Kambosos for the undisputed lightweight title. And of course, it ended up that he had to pull out of it because he had to tend to affairs with this war going on with Russia and Ukraine. And Haney ended up, having the good fortune of being able to be the guy to replace Lomachenko in the fight against Kambosos. Now, Kambosos gets credit. He beat Teofimo Lopez. He's the undisputed champion. But of course, nonetheless, he, is still pretty much one of the weaker undisputed lightweight champions you'll ever get. Plus, the titles are already unified by the time Haney's getting the shot. So he's able to become the undisputed lightweight champion with wins over Kambosos. Got to give credit where credit's due. Nonetheless, no matter what my feelings are on the limitations of George Kambosos, Haney got the shot, again, thanks to Lomachenko, and he ended up getting the win. Now, I've had issues in the past because I've always felt like Haney was naming the big names but not actually fighting the big names. And in a weight class where the lightweight, there's plenty of top lightweights to choose from, and even the lesser famous lightweights are very dangerous. Guys like Jermaine Ortiz, Joseph Adorno, and so on and so forth. There were tough fights that could have been taken, even if they weren't against the elite level of the weight class. But there were certainly tough fights. But Haney was fighting, older guys with, big name reputations, but totally shot, So I think, for example, I'll go as far as to say probably Jermaine Ortiz is a tougher opponent. The guy Lomachenko just beat in his return fight, which is supposed to be just a warm-up fight after the war and after he'd spent the longest layoff of his career outside the gym. He takes on Jermaine Ortiz, who, in my opinion, is better than anybody Devin Haney has beaten on his record. I don't think Devin Haney has beaten anybody as good as Jermaine Ortiz on his record. Yet Lomachenko was using Jermaine Ortiz as a return opponent, just to show you the different levels where they see themselves at. Because you can speak something, but you got to actually it's the way you live it. It's the way you behave that actually shows the way you truly feel, you know? Now, again, Haney's the undisputed lightweight champion. You know, everybody else is playing pretend. But I think this fight is a good fight. I think at first, when I was first hearing about it, I was noticing a lot of comments saying, you know, Haney's going to win the fight. Haney's going to win the fight easily and all this other stuff. I think the hiccups Lomachenko has had in his career have also been because he's fought better opposition. And like I said, Jermaine Ortiz is a better fighter than anybody Haney's beaten, regardless of the fact that Kambosos had the titles. I think Jermaine Ortiz is probably a better, regardless of the fact that Kambosos had the titles. I think Jermaine Ortiz is probably a better fighter than George Kambosos. I think Jermaine Ortiz is going to be dangerous if he gets a shot. Of course, you know, knowing how Top Rank is, Jermaine Ortiz will probably just wind up as an opponent for Shakur Stevenson, and Shakur will also beat him. But, you know, that doesn't mean Jermaine Ortiz isn't really a good fighter. Now, it depends on the positions you put Ortiz in, you know? Same with Joe Adorno, who hasn't fought a top guy yet, but he has a draw with Jermaine Ortiz. That's what I mean about this division. It's even the subtle guys that you haven't heard about yet, or we don't know too much about yet, are actually really good fighters as well. But Haney was fighting old shot guys. Now, he's the undisputed lightweight champion. He beats Kambosos, as I said. You get credit for that. But basically, what I've observed here in the last couple of days, I'm here at the Team Combat League, the new league that's formed, that's having fights here in Mohegan Sun, and I've been around some fight people this week. And while everybody at first I felt like was starting to pick Haney when the fight was being talked about, everybody I was around in the last few days, most people were picking Lomachenko. So I think, you know, ultimately, I think resumes and your desire to fight top opposition and all this other stuff, I think it starts to come to the forefront where, you know, people get character tested and or character built. Now, that doesn't mean Haney can't handle the pressure. You know what? You fight at this level, and you dream of fighting at this level because you start to embrace the pressure. And eventually you're going to wind up in fights like this, right? Where, you know, there's going to be people picking for you and people picking against you. I thought Haney would have more trouble with Kambosos based on the fact that it was a young fighter going to a new location away from home. So you got to give Haney credit for that. Because while I don't rate Kambosos is the most difficult guy to beat, the situation that Haney had to beat him under, you still got to give a guy like that credit because you still got to remain cool, collected in an environment that you're not used to, and in an environment where, you know, you're probably not going to have many people cheering for you. Now, I heard people, you know, treated Haney with respect in Australia, but that doesn't mean they would have wanted him to win. You still want your hometown guy to win, right? And so being able to do that and win, and do that twice out there in Australia, it's certainly Haney passing the character test in that regard. But now the character test is tested yet to another level. You're raising your stakes even more. I believe this fight is in New York, but regardless, this is the most difficult opponent of Devin Haney's career. I don't think it's the most difficult opponent of Lomachenko's career. I don't think we've seen Haney at a high enough level yet to where we can know for sure just how good he is. You know, he's never been in a fight where, based on the opponent, based on the skills of the opponent, you're like, whoa, you know, I wonder how Haney's going to deal with that, you know? I'll be honest, with the Kambosos fight, my curiosity was how he was going to deal with the negativity of having to go away. But I've yet to watch Haney in a fight where I look at a guy's style and I'm like, I wonder how Haney's going to deal with this guy's skills or this guy's roughhouse tactics or whatever, you know, tricks up the opponent, up his sleeve the opponent might have. He just didn't have any of those. He hasn't had any. He hasn't fought any guys like that at all. Not even close, actually. So this is the first time that I'm curious about Haney in regards to his actual opponent, because the things his opponent can do, and if Haney's going to be able to make adjustments and take advantage of certain things in his opponent as well, because again, he's fighting an opponent that is not just going to give him the openings. He's going to have to create them for himself and deal with them. So I think it's a good fight. I'm really looking forward to the fight. A lot of questions are up in the air. I probably still edge Lomachenko in my pick, but it's certainly like one of those fights where, you know, there's a question marks about Haney, not because he's not good, but because you just haven't seen him at this level yet. So anytime you have questions about that, you know, you can only get your answers when you see a fighter like this perform at this level. And the fact that he's at this level, obviously, you know, shows that he's deserving of it. But, you know, it's one of those fights where you're looking forward to it. The styles blend together well. And like I said, I think it's the best fight in the lightweight division that can be made at the moment. You know, Haney has the undisputed title. Lomachenko is a guy who would have had, in my opinion, would have had the undisputed title had he not had to deal with the war. I probably was feeling some type of way about the way Haney had been disrespecting Lomachenko. I mean, a guy who basically allowed you to win the title when you weren't champion before. And yes, Haney was not a champion before. A guy who allowed you to win the title when you weren't champion before. And is also a legend in the sport. I would have thought it would have been more gracious. I can remember, when I fought guys my age, okay, I was disrespectful to them. But when I fought guys that were legendary, like I remember fighting Zab Judah. Judah was a legend for me growing up. It was in my gym. Had won the title way before me. Was a guy I looked up to. And I had been a big trash talker. But when I fought Zab, I just couldn't get myself to talk trash. He was a guy that I had looked up to for too long, So, I think there's a pecking order to situations like that. Lomachenko has been a legend in the game. Haney is coming up behind him. So I think there should be a little bit of respect in that regard. Plus, on top of that, you're only champion because he allowed you to fight for the title after he pulled out due to the war. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the title. So I probably wasn't too crazy about the disrespect Haney had shown Lomachenko, a guy who, in my opinion, also a legend in the sport. I would have thought it would have been more gracious. I can remember, when I fought guys my age, okay, I was disrespectful to them. But when I fought guys that were legendary, like I remember fighting Zab Judah. Judah was a legend for me growing up. It was in my gym. Had won the title way before me. Was a guy I looked up to. And I had been a big trash talker. But when I fought Zab, I just couldn't get myself to talk trash. He was a guy that I had looked up to for too long, So, I think there's a pecking order to situations like that. Lomachenko has been a legend in the game. Haney is coming up behind him. So I think there should be a little bit of respect in that regard. Plus, on top of that, you're only champion because he allowed you to fight for the title after he pulled out due to the war. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the title. So I probably wasn't too crazy about the disrespect Haney had shown Lomachenko, a guy who, in my opinion, has deserved all the respect, and more so his fan base. Haney's fan base has really disrespected Lomachenko in the build-up to all this. So, I wouldn't say clouded my judgment, but certainly maybe made me not give Haney probably the credit I could have given him, because I think Haney is a good fighter. I think I've always said Haney's a good fighter. I just don't think he wins this fight. But certainly I'm curious about the answers I'm going to get about it, because Haney's been good enough to get here. And, when you get here, and when you're good enough to get here, you fight the fights that give us the answers about you. So looking forward to it. I'll probably break down a little more as the fight gets closer. We'll probably have some comments about how training camp goes and rumor mills and all that stuff. I'm sure the week of the fight I'll make another video about it. But this is Paulie Malignaggi for Paulie TV. Let me know who you're picking, Haney or Lomachenko. Let me know if you think it's going to be a good fight, what kind of fight you think it's going to be. All that good stuff. Man, I'll catch you later.